do you also think in terms of intensity?
Yes, excellent. Good, Bruce. So that you're making sure that the stimulus is the same. Because what would happen if we anchored curiosity, I anchored curiosity like that, and then we were talking about something, and then I came back and I asked the curiosity, and that kind of wasn't the same, was it? So it's very important that you're able to manifest the same response as it was the first time that it was anchored.
Okay. I'm asking you, the first time you do it, do you like pull it really far, or
should be like a pressure, more or less. Should be like kind of a pressure. It should be comfortable, It should really be an anchor, like you're making a purchase on the person's skin. You're actually making a purchase there. That's the main thing. Something too light, that's a little bit not so much of the earth. So something that really is sort of connected. That's a good one. And the importance of the question for everyone is that you're making sure that you are doing it the same, so that the stimulus is the same. Okay? Alright, so now here's what you're going to do. You're going to first of all elicit a state of whole brain functioning and notice that the person's feeling excellent and okay about themselves, alright? And okay about things. And then what you're going to do is you're going to ask the person if there's some response that they have, like a stuck state with something that they're feeling a little stuck about. And let's not have anything major come up right now, okay? So pick something that is something that you would enjoy feeling better about, and so this will be called the stuck state. And so now what you're going to do is you're going to ask your client where it is that they would like you to anchor this. And the person will say, on the back of my hand, or on this leg, or on the elbow here, or somewhere, okay? And so then you're going to say, okay, now what I'd like you to do is to go now to that stuck state. Now you can become very specific, and we're going to be talking about installation. But I think just for the moment here now, we're going to learn the generic way to anchor, and later on I'm going to teach you how to install that strategy so that you're using this person's sensory-specific strategy, the way they go about making decisions, to fire off and install a strategy. So if I knew, for instance, that when Dave saw this, then he felt something, then I would be sure to say, and Dave, when you've seen this in the past, which is the stuck state, now you're going to feel this. And what I do is I've held the resource anchor whilst I've released the stuck state anchor. And the main thing is that the resource that you'll build is a powerful enough resource that will collapse any stuck state into it. If the resource state has a large enough pool of positive ions in it, it will collapse the stuck state into it. There'll be plenty more positive ions left, in fact. So here's what you're going to do. I'm going to go over it now. You're going to sense the person's in whole brain functioning, has the ability to use all their brain, and then you're going to ask them for a stuck state, and then you're going to anchor that stuck state. Just before the stuck state peaks, you're looking at the person's face, sensing when it is. You can ask them for an ideomotor dynamic, a way of telling you that it's about to peak. You can say, nod your head just as it's starting to peak, and then as you see them nodding your head, fire off the anchor and anchor that state, and then ask the person to ask them what they did yesterday. Make a breaker state from that to clear that state. So ask them what they did yesterday, what they did today, what they do tomorrow, or something, and then say, all right. Now what I'd like you to do is I'd like for us to build a resource state now. And maybe the resource state, there's something in the resource state that's specific that the person would enjoy having a feeling of, that will quell their stuck state. The main thing is that the resource state that you build is a large enough resource state to collapse the stuck state into it. Okay? So now, so you're going to set up an ideomotor dynamic again. You're going to ask the person to nod their head. So they're going out of the auditory self somewhat, more into vision and feeling. Okay, so you'll ask them to nod their head or to shake your hand if it's going to be, their hand, which is a good place to anchor excellence, right? So hold the person's hand and ask them to shake your hand when they're just about to peak.
And peak in what, the stuck state?
In the resource state. If it's the stuck state that we were talking about, it would be just before the stuck state peaks, then you're anchoring it. Okay? And you're holding the anchor there, making sure that it's anchored, and then releasing. Okay, so then you make a breaker state. You ask the person what they're doing just to clear the neurology. And then you ask them to come back now and access the resourceful state. They can think back in the past when they were laughing so hard. They can think about something that they accomplished, they built, some feeling of a sense inside of being creative, something they painted, something that they did or they accomplished. The main thing is that it's resourceful and that you are looking to see that it is resourceful. So the person that will activate the zygomaticus major muscle. You'd want to see that that's activated a little bit, like the person sort of smiling a little, and that you can see their eyebrows raised just a little bit, and you'll notice actually, just use your intuition to sense that you know for sure the person has a resource state. So ask the person to nod their head and share with you just in that moment that it's peaking, and shake your hand, and so you shake the hand or you anchor it. Okay, so now, then you break a state from that, and you ask the person what they did yesterday, to look around the room or something and just, shake everything off, and then you say, all right, okay. Now, when it is in the past that you felt this, fire off the stuck state anchor, now you're going to feel this. And then release the stuck state, hold the resource anchor, and then release the resource anchor.
So you're pressing the resource anchor simultaneously with the stuck state anchor?
Yes, so if this is the stuck state and this is the resource state, okay, I'm saying now, and in the past when you felt this, which brings the memory back inside my nervous system of the stuck state, now you're going to feel this. And then you release the stuck state, hold the resource there, and then release. And actually it's a good idea, once you've developed the anchors, before you create the synesthesia, you might test your work. You might walk over you may just go like that with the same with stimulus, to see in fact that you are getting the response that's paired with the stimulus. Naturally you'll see the person's the orbital muscle of the mouth, you'll see the orbital muscle of the mouth kind of pull down just a little bit like that, and you'll notice that the person actually has gone into a physiology that's involving the stuck state. If you know that this is occurring, then it means that you've got an excellent anchor, and that the two of you have worked well together. Okay, and so then you make a breaker state, and then you would just kind of fire off the resource state to see if the anchor will elicit the resourceful physiology. So you test your work. Then you create the synesthesia. In the past, when you felt this, now you're going to feel this. Boom. Okay, and then you might do that a couple times, and then make a breaker state, and then ask the person, what is it now that you feel? And then touch the resource, touch the stuck state, and see to what degree the person is in resourceful physiology. You will know it yourself. When the synesthesia has occurred, you'll try as you may to get the feeling back of how it was that you felt about this thing. It'll practically be impossible to get the stuck state feeling back.
You do a state, what do you call it, breaker state?
Yeah, breaker state.
But like you said, you do that maybe 2 or 3 times.
Whenever you're going to do the next chunk, it's a good idea for the nervous system to be clear and free.
When you said you go back and forth there a couple of times to really anchor it in.
Right.
You're doing a breaker state between each of those times?
No, not necessarily. No, not necessarily. So I'd say in the past, when you've felt this fire off the stuck state, Now you're going to feel this. Fire off the restore state with the stuck state, holding both together, and then releasing the stuck state, retaining the resource state, and then release the resource state. And then do this again. Fire off the stuck state, fire off the resource state, so the synesthesia is created. Release the stuck state, hold the resource state, and then release the resource state. And then make a breaker state. Okay? And then after you've made the breaker state, then just say to the person, what is over here now? See if you can get that back. And you'll notice that the person will be laughing a little, or they'll feel excellent in themselves, and they won't be able to get back this stuck state to the same degree. Huh?
Will you mind it for us? Do it.
Keep it 5 minutes. Good idea.
All right.
And then on Forrest?
Okay. Forrest, bring that red one out here.
He was saying he really wants to understand.
Okay.
David, would you usually use the right-hand side to resource and the left-hand side to
I like to, and it's kind of the preference of the person, actually. All right.
So you actually ask people where they want to be anchored?
Yes, you can do. However, I can do it covertly without the person knowing that I'm actually anchoring. That's the best way. Once you're understanding of this, the best change work really happens below consciousness. The person's not aware of it at all that you've been doing something.
Using an auditory
Or a very visual or kinesthetic, which just happens to be the strongest. Can I sit down?
Where do I sit?
Yeah, just on this red, on the red thing here.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so Forrest looked like he's really in a whole brain functioning state. Okay, so he's smiling away and carrying on. All right. Okay, so get in a position where you can see this. Okay, and just turn around just a little bit this way, so as you're facing the front. That's good, mate. Good on you. All right. Okay. And it's a good idea to feel that you can start to relax a little now, okay? And actually bring your feet down a little bit like that, and put your hands here, okay? And you can do many things, and I'm just going to ask Forrest to allow your eyelids to close just as you feel the need to blink, okay? And this is going to last about 5 minutes or so, right? And it'll seem like such a short time. So allow your eyelids to close as you feel the need to blink here now. Alright. And what I'm going to do is have you go back inside, right, and relax a little, okay? And go back inside and watch a television show. And when you're watching a television show, alright, allow this finger here to lift. Alright, good. Okay.
Like this?
Yes, that's good. Now just in the time, hold your hand up. Just in the time that ever so gently takes you to relax. Relax now in the distance that it takes for your hand to ever so gently float down towards your knee. Take some time now to relax a little. And I'm going to be speaking to the group while you're relaxing. Now, what I've set up is what's called a leverage induction, which is to do with Forrest relaxing as his arm ever so gently floats back down toward his knee. Leverage induction is excellent, and it can be framed to something, in fact, that's actually happening in the room. And this is quite a strong way because it's the pairing of something that's occurring with something else occurring. So it's quite a strong way. So anyway, so we'll be learning this technique at some point. And so Forrest in a nice relaxed state. Excellent. Okay, ready to start. All right. Now what I'm going to have you do, Forrest, is
Can I open my eyes? Keep check.
if you feel you'd enjoy being able to open your eyes, you can open your eyes, and that's excellent. And whenever it is you feel that will enhance the process, you allow yourself to do that. And you can move, and the main thing is you're feeling relaxed. And I'm going to ask you now, is there something that's happened, all right, that you'd enjoy feeling better about? You think about something you'd love to feel better about or feel resourceful about. Maybe, yes, have you got something? Yes, all right, okay. All right, and what I'd like you to do is to allow your eyes to be focused over here somewhere, okay, so that you can keep your train of thought a little, all right? And I'm going to ask, would it be all right if I anchor that stuck state over here on your knee, like that, yes? I'm going to do that, all right? All right. So what I'm going to have you do now is imagine that you're in this stuck state. And the more that you can feel this stuck state, and the more that your will is behind this now, the more it is, in fact, that this process is going to work, okay? So I'm going to ask you to nod your head when you're feeling stuck about this thing, whatever that is. When you're feeling this thing, okay? It can be to do with anything. It can be to do with school. It can be to do with a game, like a soccer game or something. It can be to do with mum or dad yelling at you one day or something. It can be to do with, yes? Alright, okay. So now what I'd like you to do is to imagine some moment in the past where this has happened and you would enjoy feeling better about this, and what I'd like you to do is to feel a piece of this state now. And as you're feeling this state, I'd like you to nod your head, okay? So you're remembering feeling a little stuck about this state, okay? And you'll nod your head when you're really feeling a little some of this state. Alright. You see now, partly I know that we're kind of collapsing this already, okay? Because as Forrest has thought about this thing, at first I saw the orbital muscle of the mouth pull down just a little, and then as he was thinking about, hey, this is pretty neat or something, whatever, he also was kind of smiling a little bit too, so this thing was starting to be collapsed actually as well. But anyway, for the moment now what I really want you to do is imagine that you're really mad about this thing and you're really kind of upset, okay? So now feel a little mad, kind of an upset inside. See now, most of this is kind of being collapsed a little, right? At the moment, okay. So what I'd like you to do now is to remember this moment in the past. And actually, you know something, I think it's going to help if you allow your eyes to close now for a little bit. And you go inside. Okay. Good. Alright, okay. So now what I'd like you to do is to bring your hands out and place them here. Just as, and this hand is going to lift when you are feeling this stuck state. And allow this hand to be held up whilst you're feeling this stuck state. Okay, good. Alright, that's excellent now. Okay. Alright, now what I've kind of changed this a little bit. I had to sort of chain it a bit, okay? I do know that Forrest has thought about this thing, whatever that is. It's made him feel a little stuck in the past, okay? Well, okay, so now allow this hand to relax back where it was now, and I'm going to ask you to shake my hand, okay? Now you remember doing a job, you really did an excellent job, excellent, good on you, right, okay, alright, allow your eyes, keep your eyelids closed, okay. Now what I'm going to have you do is think of something in the past that you accomplished, something that you built, something that you made, something that you put together, something you're really proud of. Shake my hand when you're thinking about it here. Shake my hand, yes, good on you, excellent, great, alright, okay. I know this is pretty full-blown resource state that Forrest thought of, alright, okay, so now I kind of used a little bit of a break state between those two, okay, as we cleared the screen, alright, as I chatted with you. So now what it is I'm gonna have you do is you're gonna hold my hand here for a second, alright, like you were, and in a moment when I shake your hand, you're gonna shake my hand, okay? In the past, when you felt this, now you're gonna feel this. Excellent, good. Alright, so now we'll do this one more time, okay? Alright, show me your hand again. Alright. In the past, Forrest, when you felt this happening a little, now you're going to feel this. Good job, alright. Okay. And now what happens when I try and get this feeling back? What happens when you try to get it back? try and get it back?
Get it back. I get it back.
Can you get it back?
Yeah, get it back.
Yes? A little.
Stacks and anchors.
A little. He can get the feeling back a little bit. Anyway, the main thing is, without doing more work, okay, it's possible that there's a resource there as well, actually. I'm not sure what Forrest went back to. Possibly that there's a resource there. And the other thing too is it's possible to get it back in another system, in vision or in auditory. Kinesthetic sense is a pretty strong one, okay? Anyway, the main thing is that there's a little bit of difficulty getting it back initially, and that the ankle when it's touched, you can see a behavioural manifestation that it's not quite the stuck state.
I noticed when you said you get back,
He was looking
he was
for it.
pulling, yeah, he was like trying to picture it now, whereas before he wasn't into it.
Okay, so that's excellent too. Terry noticed that Forrest was in visual construct, meaning that he was trying to construct getting the feeling back. It's possible to construct and get some of the feeling back. However, the main thing is that whatever it was, the memory that we went back to has kind of created a little bit of a synesthesia between the two. And so it's possible for someone to feel a little better about something as a result. And of course, what's occurred here really is a brain process that naturally happens. And so it's the study of what the brain is doing naturally, and then the making use of this actually. Okay, thanks mate. Big hand for it. Alright, okay, so now what I'd like you to do is to get into pairs, alright, and take 10 minutes, yeah.
This is the beginning of the second session of the Practitioner level course, starting on Friday, October 20, 1989.
It's worth it, absolutely.
And it's been really fun. It's like just every sentence that I hear that pop up in, I go, I just take it out and I kind of experience what that is. And it's always an altered state. I'm not sure why. I mean, I don't know where the cycle moves from where to where. But in that moment that I do that, I like it.
Okay. Jenny's really become aware of something. We've been speaking about this for quite some time, and now Jenny's finally fitted this piece in. It's to do with quantifying stuff, right? Putting scale to things. Tanya?
Would that be bliss? Would that be bliss?
In that moment, yes, there's a sense of, I know this is novelization, but there's a sense of lightness and freedom in that moment.
Yes, because it's a releasing a person from the bondage of using judgment. Right, so somebody, I explained to someone, oh yes, we have an island of about 4,500 acres, everything like that, and then the person says, because this person's a bigwig, right, and this person says, oh, that's a small island. And actually what I realise is this person does put scale to things incredibly. And something unbeknownst to this person, it's getting them into deep SH1T, really getting them into deep shit whenever they do this. Unbeknownst to them, really, you can know for sure whenever you use scale or you quantify something, if you can stand behind that quantification, then excellent.
What?
If you can stand behind the quantification, then that's excellent. But if there's not a reason to say, oh, that's a small island, or that's a small house, or or that's a big house, or that's a small fish, unless there's a reason for it, well then that's okay.
Andy heard something on the radio. It was really interesting, and this really impressed him. He said, he's 6 years old, for people that don't know Andy. He came and sat down by me one day and he goes, Mom, I heard something on the radio. I said, what? He said, I heard on the radio that children that are children now, when they grow up, they won't be able to afford to have as good of a house as their parents have. Well, but he understood that this somebody was trying to tell him something about what his life was going to be about, and he said, "Is that true?" I said, "Well, what does that mean, as good as to you?" And he said, "Well, as big." He said, "That means I won't have a house this big." And I said, "Well," and we went over what good could mean. It could mean, well, would good mean you had more trees or bigger land or, you know, red wallpaper? What does good mean? And he began to realize, well, what does good mean? What are they really trying to say? And I said, that's just people saying something that they believe, and it has nothing to do with what your life is going to be about. And he was like, I mean, imagine somebody saying that. They're putting that, and he's 6 years old, and he picked up on that. They had said better than, good as, and all this.
Well, so when you find yourself making a comparison like that, then what are you doing to release yourself from that?
I just restate it to myself.
Give me an example.
Okay, like I was saying, that I remember one time I was putting a sheet on the massage table, you know, one of my clients was coming in, and I said, "This is a good sheet," because it was a sheet that I liked, actually. And I said, "This
No stains.
this is a good sheet." And I thought, "This is a sheet." And I just put it down. It's like, why this big attachment to the good sheet or the bad sheet? Because if it would have been a bad sheet, then I could have been thinking, oh, there's a bad sheet on the table. So I just said, this is a sheet. And I've been doing that with so many things, just going right to the...
That's Roy.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Actually, we recognize this. You know, we recognize when somebody is this way, they're not really using much judgment in their language, hardly any judgment at all. And we love this, actually. We recognize that the person truly is, there's a sense of equanimity in the way the person is relating to the things around them, that they're equal
That's
to
the
everything.
altered state. The
Yes.
altered state goes from judgment to equanimity. That's what it
Yes.
altered to. And I would just be in this moment of total equanimity in that moment that I let go of that judgment.
Is everybody understanding this? Dave? What, Alex?
Well, no, I understand.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I've got a question. In talking with clients, I find myself consciously and unconsciously affirming and empowering them. And one of the ways that I do that is the use of the word excellent. Often, I found out that I've been saying it almost subliminally. When I'll start to work on somebody, go down somebody's back and they're leaning over, and I'll just, as something releases, the shoulder will let go, and then suddenly from here it goes to here, and as they release, I'll just say, excellent. And I'm wondering in terms of, to me that's an empowerment to it.
Yes, it is.
And in some ways, maybe an anchor or a reframe for what's happening. At the same time, I'm hearing exactly what Virginia is saying and understanding that in our language, if we can step back from using adjectives all the time or even adverbs all the time, we become very clear and succinct in our language.
Well, actually, when we're comparing, when we're using words to compare one thing in terms of another, or we're putting scale to something, or we're using a universal quantifier like always, or we're using a word like better. What is that? That's a what is the word better? No, comparator. Well, anyway, the main thing is that if there's a use of it, then I think that's excellent. If you can stand behind it and that there's a reason for it, which there is in this case, then that's excellent. Then to be careful, to be mindful when it is how it is that we're speaking and that you're standing behind something when you use one of these words.
Another thing that I have worked with this last month in my language with clients is a sense that the dialogue that happens, like I usually see people for an hour and a half, and for the first half hour it's just dialogue. I just talk to them. Often has nothing to do with the information about their body. allowing them to take some time and build rapport and get comfortable before we start actually hands-on. And I feel personally that perhaps 90% is done at that point, as far as laying the foundation. And hands-on, if there is a change, physical change that takes place, I consider the words much more powerful than the hands-on. Not that the hands-on isn't important, but relative to the interaction, I think the words and the metaphors that are used are actually is what a week later, a month later, where the transition continues.
Yes, because it's better to give the person a way to be able to catch fish themselves than to give them a fish.
Right.
And you can heal the body by working on the person, yet truly what it is that's created the condition is in need of being sorted out as well. So if you can fix something up on the mental plane of this person, then it's going to have a trickle-down effect actually to their physiology.
One thing that I'm confused about is, now you just said it's better to. Is it okay to use comparatives when there are some things that are like truth?
Yes. In other words, anything that you really can stand behind, then you can use a comparator, or you can use a universal quantifier like always, or you can use a performative like good or better. See, now if I say, oh, you did that well. Now the word well is a performative. There's a missing performative. That's what we call a missing performative, because well, we're not understanding what we mean actually by well. We're not understanding how the process of well got there. So in the meta model, you'll be learning this stuff today. When there's a missing performative, it's a meaning that we're not understanding how it is that something got better. The person used the word better, but we're not understanding how the person got better. So it's a missing performative. But anyway, whenever we use performatives or we use universal quantifiers, like you always should do, you should always lengthen the inspiration through your nose in moments during the day. Anything that you can stand behind, I think that's excellent, and that we should be aware that we really should be able to stand behind something if we're going to use those words.
If it serves you, that's kind of what I would ask myself at the moment I hear, does this serve me?
Not at the expense of the object or the person.
Right.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Anybody else? I'm going to ask a question. What could you do with what you learned about anchoring? What is that anyway?
Replacing one feeling with the other. Knowing you can choose your...
Okay, so let's say there's a situation that's really volatile. How do you use this process of anchoring in a situation that's volatile?
It makes you conscious of your choice to feel a certain way about it.
Yes, but for instance, like I could imagine someone thinking, well, how do I use this technique? Actually in a volatile situation. This technique of anchoring, tactile.
What do you mean? Calm down instead of being volatile.
Right. How would you give us an example of anchoring, a way of anchoring this principle of understanding anchoring in the way it could be used in a volatile situation?
I use, if I'm becoming angry, just something that irritates me, it happens frequently, then I have already a video of something that very pleasant that I like very much, and I just bring it in.
Okay, so now the video is an anchor for a state. Okay, that's good, Tanya. You're understanding anchoring. All right, and certainly. Okay, Alex.
Okay, anchoring. What you could do is, like I was speaking earlier, one way you're feeling bad, you anchor point where you feel good. This is rather than just touch a certain spot on your body. If you set it as an anchor point, just like for example, here, bring that particular pleasure situation to replace a bad situation.
Okay, so that you're using this directly through kinesthetic anchoring. Also, if I shook your hand like this, all right? Okay. Actually, whenever anybody's ever shaken your hand, it's a reminding you, it's what we call a kinesthetic, meaning it's involving body movement. It's a kinesthetic and feeling. It's a kinesthetic anchor of excellence. When anybody's ever shaken your hand before, it's a reminding you of excellence in yourself. Mostly when somebody shakes your hand, that reminding you of excellence, yes. So that the handshake then, to give you an example of an anchor, it's a kinesthetic anchor of excellence actually. So if someone was to come up to Ginger and kind of really give her a little bit of a kind of sort of push there, right now this is kind of an anchor of pushing actually. Like when Ginger was small, possibly, you know, the parents were kind of walking along the footpath and giving her a little bit of a move from behind. So it's possible that may be an anchor of that, but actually this may be, like if I rub the back a little bit, that's probably an anchor of kind of soothing, more of a soothing sense. So another way of using this principle of anchoring would be if there was a volatile situation and you saw that people were confronting each other and it was a volatile situation, you know, now this is an anchor of a position of confrontation, possibly, in this moment, right? If there was something volatile happening between us. And so to remove this anchor of this state, you know, I literally might just come over here, kind of, or something. I might not quite be in front, but eventually maybe I'll probably get over there. Because being here to talk about the situation, it's a little bit more like we've joined each other, much more than, you know, what it is, you know, if I was sitting across from each other. And actually if I was up high, you know, this might not be such a good idea, right? Because then I would be creating judgment, actually. So all of these positions, you could say these positions are anchors for some state, actually. Okay? So we're understanding as the course progresses what anchoring actually is and how you go about using anchoring.
So an anchor would be anything that produces a result.
Okay, so an anchor is any stimulus, all right, which produces some conditioned response. It's classical conditioning, basically. So understanding anchoring again, you know, I might start to use a voice which becomes a little more softer and more drawn out, and so that voice tone that I was using then is an anchor for a slower state and more of a hypnotic state, actually. So the voice tone itself becomes an anchor for this state.
Well, basically what you're doing is you're programming yourself to react to certain situations that are unpleasant. You basically program yourself to automatically respond to certain areas to react to certain stimuli from outside.
Yes, because it's like classical conditioning, actually. So for instance, Alec, let's just say that we give a rat saccharin. You know what saccharin is? It's an artificial sweetener. Artificial sweetener. And we shock the rat, okay? Or we give the rat something which actually lowers its immune response. So now all we need to do then is to give the rat saccharin, and saccharin becomes paired to this lowered immune response. So now all the rat has to do is to have a little saccharin, and it gets this lowered immune response. Okay, so this is classical conditioning. In other words, the saccharin has become an anchor for this lowered immune response.
On the way over here this morning, I changed an anchor. I just realized. Right up here, there's a slope pass over the interstate, and on either side is a cattle gap. Familiar with that? Cattle crossing the railroad, like the railroad that we on rails.
Yes.
To keep the cows off the road. There's one on one side of the pass, one on the other. And as I was approaching that, coming down here, I was going rather fast, and I anticipated the abrupt group as I go across in a slight bump, which I have heretofore had an aversion to. And as I saw it coming, it's like, I hate going across that thing. And all of a sudden I realized I want to change this to, wow, this is, like, group. So as I went across, it was like, group. It was like, I got a little watch. And then There was the second one. And my reaction to that was, well, here it is again. So it was like I changed the anchor. Because I was tired of feeling I hate this country.
I've got a good story on that too. I used to have an anchor ring the telephone to a certain state. And I decided to hook another state to it, so as soon as I heard the telephone ring, I would say to myself, oh boy, a telephone. And when I pick it up, I feel great. So now when it rings, I've got those two things matched.
Excellent. Oh, that's excellent. That's a good one. Yeah.
You've got them matched.
When you were talking about that, from what we learned last month, I had a chance with a customer, and not just direct anchors, like Alex mentioned.
Yes, indirect.
Indirect anchors that y'all have.
Yes.
But when I'm selling, I'm using a very high-paced visual so I talk fast. And with my customers, I slow down more to an auditory state and mirroring and matching my customer. And I found that when we got to the close, all my customers, when you hear me spend about $40,000 or more, they tend to get more tense and more fast-paced themselves.
Yes.
So I slow down more and I give a smile. And that was an anchor with them. And they start smiling back and slow down also. It worked great.
It was comfortable.
Fantastic. Excellent.
The anchor, the smile was an anchor itself.
Yes.
They were really less tense because of the smile.
Okay, so that's excellent. Because so now what happened here? Dave was smiling when it was that he was relaxed, and then all he needed to do in this moment was to start to smile again, and the smile became paired to the way that he'd spent some time with the client. That's very good.
Exactly. It worked great.
It's like smiling when you first shake their hands and meet them, and then smile at certain high points, and then they start to get nervous and you smile.
So it's possible to influence the proceedings of a court without saying anything at all. Give me an example now, somebody, how you could do that.
In a court?
Yes.
Well, I was an expert witness at one point, and there was a lawyer from a large law firm in New Orleans attempting to discredit me, to make me look foolish before the judge, so that my testimony would be discounted. And he asked me if we had a model of a piece of a window wall, aluminum and glass window walls about this long, about this high. And he asked me if the window wall was put together with a certain number of screws. And I asked the judge if I could get out of my witness chair. And I had my coat tie, and everybody in the courtroom was all decked out, with official clothes on it. And I got down out of the witness chair. I went down where the model was, which was in front of the thing, and I got down on the floor, on my hands and knees, and put my head right down before I looked in there. I said, yeah, I think there's 2 screws in there. I got went and sat in my chair. Everybody was kind of laughing, and it just broke it all up. So it was like I countered the thrust, and it sort of, it lightened up the whole courtroom. And a little while later, the judge turned to me, and he kind of turned the lawyer off, said, enough of those questions. He turned to me and said, Mr. Caldwell, in your own words, what's the situation?
So Richard turned the situation around right then. He just flipped it around. Everybody was going, oh, Mr. Caldwell, he's really right on.
It was a game. It was a game.
All right. Okay, so he got kid rapport, that's very good. So let's, what about something else in the courtroom? Like without saying anything at all, how could you influence things?
Just sitting back like this maybe in a tense moment or something, and you can just make a big
that's an example. All right, something even more like powerful, like really something that's going to affect the decision.
Pounding the gravel.
You like manipulating the judge?
Yes, okay. If there was something that was really aversive, every time that was aversive, you could do something that really would mark out that aversion, so as you could get some kind of an anchor, for something that was really aversive, or move a certain way, and then whenever you would move that way after a while, it's possible that people would have this feeling of this aversion.
You could do all sorts of things. You could have an anchor for pleasantries and an anchor for aversion. Like every time things are going the way you really wanted it to, you could be, there's something there. Just mark it out in some way,
You'd want to do it discreetly, because if you were acting...
very discreet,
But the main thing is you could clear your throat. Every time the judge makes a favourable decision, you could go... And then when it would come time, especially if you pace the person, because this is the way this works, if you pace and pace and pace, then you can lead. So you've paced the whole time, and then finally it comes time for the judge,
Back that up on me again.
Okay, so the way this works is that you have to pace the person.
You're talking about the judge again.
Yes, let's say the judge or somebody else that's important and they're deciding about things themselves. Then you would want to be sure that you would pace this person. In other words, that whenever they would make a favourable decision, or you could see if they were pleasant, you could clear your throat just a little bit or something, okay?
Go into a coughing fit each time you
No, that